Hey, what's up everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. So today, gonna discuss the what's next on the undefeated Virgil Ortiz following his impressive 8th round TKO victory over Ortiz Kavaliauskas, the Mean Machine. He really came in there and he got hurt early, but then he put Kavaliauskas down in the second round. And then just continued to kind of break him down. Kavaliauskas was in the fight. It was a good fight. But Ortiz was winning. And then he really started getting to Kavaliauskas and hurting him. And then in the 8th round, he finished the fight impressively. And we got he's still undefeated and moving forward after that victory. So now the big question is, what's next for Virgil Ortiz? Well, in terms of where he's ranked, his highest rankings, he's the WBA gold champion, which means like he's basically a top contender. But with the WBA consolidating all their belts right now, it doesn't look likely that they're going to order him to, get a title shot next. Pacquiao was a champion at recess. He fought Jeron Ennis. Ugas is basically your super champion right now, but he might be the only champion left because the WBA might make Jamal James the interim champion. Maybe they'll order Ortiz and Jamal James to collide. That's Golden Boy working with the PBC though, and that's going to be a tough thing to make right there, a tough fight to make. So his other highest ranking is number 1 by the WBO, but the WBO has already ordered him to fight, or has already ordered Terence Crawford, who's a champion, to fight number 2, Shawn Porter. Now, that fight is currently going to a purse bid, so what does that mean? But when we get to Crawford right now, running through the top 10, we'll see what could be, how that could shake out. So let's start with the what's next on Virgil Ortiz, and we'll start with the top 10 like we normally do, run through the top 10 welterweights and see if he could be lining up against any of them next. We start with number 1 unified champion, the undefeated Errol Spence Jr. Not seeing this one. Spence, after having to pull out of the Pacquiao fight, and then Pacquiao lost to Jeron Ennis. I think it's very likely that Spence comes back and makes a mandatory of one of his 2 belts, the IBF or WBC titles. And then either that or he has a showdown with Jeron Ennis to unify the 3 belts. So that's what I think Spence is doing next. Plus, it's Golden Boy and the PBC. Unless that fight gets mandatory ordered, it's not happening in my opinion. Number 2 is the undefeated WBO champion, Terence Crawford. I only think this fight's possible, and maybe there's a high percentage of this, or a pretty decent percentage of it, but I think this fight could be possible if the PBC and Shawn Porter pull out of a purse bid and just put Porter in line to fight another PBC guy ahead of a big shot against one of the other PBC fighters next year. I could see Al Heyman and the PBC doing that with Shawn Porter instead of having him fight Terence Crawford in a mandatory fight. That fight has been ordered by the WBO. The 2 sides couldn't really work out a deal, so now it's going to purse bid, and we'll see who wins that fight, who wins the purse bid on that, and if the fight's going to happen after the purse bid goes down. So we'll see what shakes out with that, but I think there's a possibility that Virgil Ortiz, being the number 1 contender to Crawford and coming off of a win over a guy that hurt Crawford as well, that Ortiz stopped 1 round faster in the Mean Machine, I think Ortiz might feel like he's ready for Crawford, and we could see that fight before the end of the year, so we'll see what happens. Number 3 is, now it's either Jeron Ennis or Shawn Porter. Now, Shawn Porter, I don't think that fight happens. I think Porter's going to get the shot against Terence Crawford, or he's going to fight another PBC guy, so I don't see it. Jeron Ennis, it depends on if the WBA wants to mandate Virgil Ortiz as their top contender next to take on Ugas. Either that, or they're going to order the interim champion, or the regular champion right now, Jamal James, to fight Ugas, and I think that would be more likely if they're consolidating all their belts. So we'll see. I personally think Ugas is either going to fight Spence in a unification bout, or the WBA would order the regular champion Jamal James to fight him next. So we'll see how that shakes out. Okay, so number 5 is the Pac-Man Manny Pacquiao. I don't see that fight happening. Pacquiao's coming off now the loss to Ugas. There's just I just don't see Pacquiao and Vergil Ortiz. I don't think Pacquiao even comes close to taking that kind of risk. Pacquiao might retire after the loss to Ugas, so we'll see. Number 6, Danny Garcia. Not seeing this one. Danny Garcia is moving up to. Danny Garcia is moving up to 154 in his next fight, so I don't see him giving. Well, and it's PBC working with Golden Boy anyway, so I'm not seeing it. But Danny Garcia is going to be fighting at 154 going forward. Number 7 is Mikey Garcia. Would love to see this fight. I don't think Mikey wants anything to do with Vergil Ortiz. I heard Mikey's talking about a fight in the fall with Regis Prograis, and I just think Ortiz is too young and too kind of ferocious for Mikey right now. I think that's a fight Mikey would have to get later on when it's a bigger type of fight and there's, no other options. Number 8 is Jeron Ennis, the undefeated rising welterweight contender. I would love to see this fight, but Ennis is with the PBC, Ortiz is with Golden Boy, and I don't see the two sides coming together. Number 9 is the regular champion Jamal James. Now, there's a slight chance of this one if the WBA decides to keep their regular title and they order the gold champion or Vergil Ortiz to fight the regular champion Jamal James. That's the big if right there and the big question on whether that can go down. And then there's the two-way tie for 10th, which Ortiz is tied for 10th still. He might move up past Jamal James, but I'm not sure. And then Josecito Lopez is the other option, which I don't see Josecito Lopez being an option. So we'll see. Doesn't look like a lot of options are there, but we'll see what happens with Virgil. That's what's next.